Today on the newscast, why do the global elites behind the Great Reset agenda admire China's communist regime so much? Get my take next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. As you can see, I'm still not back in the Watchman studio. I am in the great state of Texas, in a hotel, as you can see, doing some very important work here over the next few days. In the meantime, I just want to come to you from my phone. No bells and whistles, just content today on a very important topic, China and the Great Reset. Now, we've been covering the Great Reset agenda at length here on the newscast over the past few months, and China's social credit system is a big part of what the global elites want to do. They want to model much of their plan, their sinister plan for the world and one world government after China's communist regime and what Beijing is employing against its own citizenry, folks, and it's not good. I spoke to Reggie Littlejohn, who's a China expert and a human rights activist, about the Great Reset and communist China's role and the admiration that the global elites like Klaus Schwab feel for the tyrants in Beijing. Take a look.
I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years since the opening up and policy and reform policy came into action. I think it's a role model for many countries.
For supporters of the Great Reset, China serves as a model. The communist regime in Beijing has imposed a surveillance state where every move is tracked. Every citizen is given a social credit score based on their loyalty to the regime and its agenda. Reggie Littlejohn is an expert on China's one-child policy of forced abortions. She's seen the tyranny of China's government up close, and she's sounding the alarm that it could come here, courtesy of the Great Reset. Reggie, when we are talking about the Great Reset, you have talked so much about China and that social credit system enforced by the communist regime in Beijing and how it's an influence on the Great Reset. Could you break that down more, how China influences this Great Reset movement?
So what China has is something called a social credit system. And so what they do is they put into one place all this surveillance. They have real-time geolocation, so they know exactly where you are. They have facial recognition. They combine your criminal record, your medical record, and then all your social media posts, all of your internet search history and all of your online activity. They also put your internet spending history. And so they combine all this together to come up with a score. And that score is how reliable of a Chinese, basically a sheep of the regime you are. Are you a person that is basically obeying all the rules and never making waves? One thing that will make your score go down is if you're a person of faith. They track that also. They don't like people who believe in God because they consider themselves to be God. And so if your social credit score goes down, the first level of punishment would be you could lose your job, your kid won't go to a good school, you won't be able to borrow money, so you won't be able to start a business or buy a home, you won't be able to travel. And if you keep it up, if you continue to be a dissident voice, it is connected to your credit card and your bank account, so they can just shut those off and completely paralyze you. And if you are a true dissident, then they can just disappear you. They know exactly where you are, what you look like, and they can punish your friends also because they know what your social network is. And if people think that this kind of thing could not happen in the West, it has already happened in Canada. So we saw this at the truckers' strike, where not only were the truckers, but also people who had donated to the truckers were severed from their bank accounts and their credit cards. So this can happen even in the West, even in the United States.
Hey, the World Health Organization, Reggie, you have been critical of biotech tyranny, of vaccine mandates, and the long-term implications of that. Tell us why you're so troubled about some of the activities at the World Health Organization?
So in my opinion, the World Economic Forum and the United Nations are using the World Health Organization in order to trap us in a digital gulag. And the reason that they're using the World Health Organization is because studies have shown that you can instill great fear through people's fear about health, fear about death, and fear is what paralyzes people's minds and it gets them to be compliant. So the World Health Organization is currently negotiating 2 instruments. Now, I want to say I think that these are treaties because they affect our national sovereignty, but the World Health Organization will not call them treaties because they're trying to subvert the U.S. treaty process and the treaty process all over the world. So don't think that this won't happen because it won't pass our Senate. If they get their way, our Senate will never see it. And so these 2 instruments, one is amendments to the international health regulations. The other one is a pandemic agreement, which I will call a treaty. And between the 2 of those, they are setting a trap, a digital gulag, which will include mandatory digital IDs that will be interoperable all over the world, which means that all the information that's on your ID will be able to be seen by any country, including China. It establishes a surveillance system, and they're using health as the excuse for this, or the pretext for it, where they're going to be surveilling not only human health. This is another thing. They've got this one health concept: human health, animal health, plant health, the environment. And what it does is it gives them the ability to surveil any aspect of life on Earth. Then they have something they're negotiating about censorship. So the parties to the agreement, which would be the countries, would be agreeing to censor misinformation and disinformation. So through social listening, that's what they say. So what they're going to be doing is monitoring our social media accounts. Who knows if they'll even be monitoring our phones, monitoring our email. Social listening could include that to determine whether we are saying things that are counter-narrative to what the WHO is trying to say. And you know what? The WHO has so bungled the COVID-19 debacle, saying things that were disinformation, like the WHO parroted what China was saying. This is, there's no human-to-human transmission. The vaccines are safe and effective. They prevent transmission and infection. And all of these things have been shown to be false. So they were the main purveyors of misinformation and disinformation, but they will censor and probably do worse things, shut us off from our credit cards and bank accounts if we counter the message that they're trying to get out.
Yeah, Reggie, it sounds like what you're describing, and even more importantly, what they are describing, is a one world government. And you've written that humanity stands on the brink of enslavement to this kind of system. Is the U.S., under the current government, rushing headlong into this Great Reset?
Yes, we are heading headlong into this system if we don't oppose it immediately. Because actually the United States is one of the main ones that is pushing these amendments, these horrific amendments that would hurt our sovereignty. It's being pushed by the United States, and the United States is actively considering implementing a central bank digital currency through which they could enforce all of these mandates through the World Health Organization. So we are heading into a trap, and once that trap is sprung, once we have these mandatory digital IDs, once we have a central bank digital currency, it will be almost impossible to defy it, to resist. Because as soon as you try to resist, they'll just come down on you with, cutting you out from your credit cards and your bank accounts, and they could even detain you if we're living in that much of a totalitarian regime.
Yeah. Reggie, last question. You've done such important work on the Great Reset, really before the Great Reset even became a known term, because you were focusing on the tyranny among the communist regime in Beijing and what they've done to women in that country. You've advocated for the women in China, and you've really been a voice speaking out on this for years. You're a committed Christian. For people of faith, this Great Reset is very dangerous, has broad-ranging implications for followers of Jesus and for religious freedom as well, worldwide, it seems.
This Great Reset has enormous implications for religious freedom, because what they're going to be doing is surveilling us and then also possibly cutting us off in various ways if they don't like what we say. So, for example, there was an FBI memo that a whistleblower recently told the world about, where the FBI was saying that Latin Mass Catholic Christians were possible domestic threat actors. Well, why would that be? Because traditional Catholics, like traditional Protestants, believe in certain things that the World Economic Forum don't agree with, like, for example, the sanctity of life, the sanctity of marriage, other things. And so they could say, oh, you're a domestic threat actor. They could characterize those views as hate speech and end up censoring us or even detaining us. So this is very, very dangerous for religious freedom.
The great news is, Reggie, number one, that you are doing great work on this issue, sounding the alarm. But number two, if history has shown anything, it's that you can't stop the gospel. So we still have hope, but we need to sound the alarm and be proactive in fighting back against this sinister, sinister agenda, the Great Reset. Reggie, thanks so much for all you're doing. God bless. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Folks, if you want to watch my entire 1-hour special on the Great Reset featuring Reggie Littlejohn, Victor Davis Hanson, Pastor Jack Hibbs, and others, just go to TBN Specials hosted by Eric right here on our YouTube channel. And be sure to subscribe, of course, while you are there. As the body of Christ, we need to have wisdom and be aware about the times we are heading in. Hey, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Watchman Newscast. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.